Welcome to the Next Dimension Podcast, your portal to an extended reality. Every week we talk about the hottest topics in XR and let you join the discussion live on MRTV. And now, get ready for another exciting episode coming up.
Hi and welcome to episode 17 of the Next Dimension Podcast, your new podcast that's all about VR and AR. And tonight we have a very special show that I'm super excited about. I would like to say hello to Guy Godin, the developer of Virtual Desktop. Guy, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Sebastian.
Great to have you on the show again. You were on the second episode and now again here on episode 17. And also here, Lazius Kaye, the guy, not Guy, the guy from VR Essentials, a great YouTube channel about VR. Lazius, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. Really humbled to be here. So I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Also doing very well. And Guy is in Canada and Lazius, you're in Singapore. It's like 3 a.m. where you are right now, right? Wow.
Yes.
So thank you for staying up so late to be here on the show. Great to have you here. And of course, also here again, so great to have you again, Tetiana from Disco VR, Discover. Oh God, you haven't been on the show for too long. I forgot your name, your channel name already. Tetiana, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yes, very happy to be here as always. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So glad to have you back. And also here with me, my name is Sebastian, and I'm the founder of MRTV, and I'm the host of this show, the Next Dimension Podcast. So for all of you who don't know this podcast yet, this podcast is being live streamed every Saturday at 9 p.m. Berlin time, 8 p.m. London time, 3 a.m. Singapore time, noon in San Francisco, and 3 p.m. in New York City. And this show is also on all the podcast providers, on iTunes, on Spotify, on Alexa, on Google. So yeah, you can also listen to us as an audio podcast. And if you enjoy this show, you could do us one big favor. You could now get out your iPhone or iPad, open the podcast app, and look for us, look for the Next Dimension Podcast, and do give us a 5-star review. This would absolutely make a big difference. So right now, in the beginning, in the first few minutes of the show, if you could do this right now, this would absolutely help us and it would be amazing. Yep, today's show is super exciting. We have lots of interesting topics to talk about. And of course, the most exciting topic today is going to be the new update, version 28 update for the Oculus Quest 2. The Oculus Quest 2 is dominating the market. Unbelievable. It's crazy. And that's why actually I chose the Quest 2 to be on the thumbnail of today's show, because basically everything is revolving around this headset. And that is absolutely the most important headset right now. And that's why I chose the Quest 2 as the thumbnail of today's show. So we're going to talk about the update. We're going to talk about Airlink. We're going to talk about virtual desktop because, of course, obviously there's like a direct competition now. Like which software should you use? And there's so many things that we're going to get into in this show. And I'm really glad to have Guy Godin here. It's going to be so interesting. But we're also going to talk about other topics like the Pico Neo 3, the new VR headset from Pico, which is kind of a Quest competitor, at least in China, but they're also going to go worldwide. And Lazius has the Pico Neo 2 here, and we're going to compare the two headsets. It's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about the HTC the conference that they're going to hold. It's going to be called ViveCon. It's going to happen in May 11th, and then they're going to present their new headset. We're going to talk about the Oculus Gaming Showcase, which is going to happen next week. And we're going to hear more about Lone Echo. So we're going to speculate. Is it going to be Quest 2 only? Who knows? Might be. Very interesting. We're going to talk about the new subscriptions that Oculus now supports. Resident Evil 4, the first Quest 2 only game. Oh, wow. This is going to be a heck of a show. My goodness. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm very much looking forward to this episode. But before we get into these topics, normally at the very beginning of the show, we're going to talk about what we did in our last weeks. And also I'm using these first minutes of the show to introduce our guests a bit more. And I would like to start with Guy. Guy, hello. How are you doing again? You're doing good?
Good.
Good
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Good to have you here on the show again. So for
Thank you for
all of the viewers and listeners who do not know Guy yet, Guy is the developer of a virtual desktop. I believe that's a software that we all know. It enables us to use our PC, to use our desktop in virtual reality. And the most exciting feature, in my opinion, is the ability to be able to stream PC VR games from your gaming PC to your Quest 1 and Quest 2. And I believe that's really what sold lots of Quest headsets, actually. You know, for me, I've heard lots of people in my community say, you know what, I bought the Quest 2 because I can wirelessly play my Steam VR games. Yeah, anyways, Guy, I would like to ask you, how was your last week with all the news from Oculus releasing Airlink? Were you actually able to work, or were you like busy like answering all the questions that people had about this whole topic?
I was able to work. Actually, I'm working right now on 120 hertz support and virtual desktop. I should land in the next few days. Just finalizing a few things. But yeah, I was kind of bummed out when Oculus announced that essentially they would have Airlink and they would do it on home Wi-Fi's. In the past, there were talks about them releasing a dongle or maybe a Quest 2 Pro with the built-in with a dongle that was built in. So I thought, I'll still have a market with Quest 2 users and Quest 1 users. So I was kind of a bit bummed out to see that they actually are doing exactly what I'm doing, which is a home Wi-Fi and entirely home network stuff. So
right. So it's really exactly the same, right? It's exactly the same. Like they're doing the same thing. Yeah.
And the funny part is they're releasing it as an experimental feature, exactly like I did 2 years ago when the Quest 1 launched. And at the time, they didn't want an experimental feature. They said the Quest is not a place to experiment or to try things. And they blocked my feature from the store. So my feature for the last 20 months was essentially banned from the store. I had to put it on side quests, and all my users had to go through the painful process of becoming a developer, setting up an account, and then side loading just to get access to that feature that everyone wanted, obviously. So it was very frustrating to see them just recently allow it in the store without all the patching, and then just releasing their own version.
Right.
I mean, I totally understand, because it's a feature that they should have had from day one on Quest 1. That's what I would have put in, because I saw it as something very valuable. They didn't at the time, and that's okay. But if a developer sees it as something that's valuable, don't block them, don't prevent them from releasing the feature. That's just anti-competitive in my opinion. So it's kind of sad, the situation where they had to block me for 2 years while they were working on their own solution.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And we're going to get into that topic like later in the show, and we're going to get really into depth, and we can talk about all the details. But I understand that this was like the main thing that was on your mind, right? Because that's the big thing. Facebook coming out with exactly the same that you offer, but now it's going to be free. And wow, what this means for your software, we're going to talk about this a whole lot later on the show. Yeah, okay, Guy, thanks for now. Let's get to our second guest here. Lazius, so great to speak
Bonjour.
with you. Yeah, bonjour.
Likewise.
Yeah, we haven't really talked long. We have chatted a bit before, but we didn't have the chance to really talk. So I'm really glad that you made it to the show, so we can talk more and get to know each other a bit better. So, Lazius, you have a really cool channel. I really enjoy
Thank you.
your show.
Cheers. Thank you.
The channel is called VR Essentials, and VR Essentials is obviously about VR. The name implies it. And
Yep.
what I really enjoy about your channel is that your videos are very well researched, and you also make the videos very good to watch. Like there's lots of production value going into them. Like I'm also a YouTuber, obviously, as you are on my channel right now. So I know how I know how much time it takes to really like edit videos. And
Yep.
I can just imagine that your videos take lots of time to edit, right?
Well, once you're able to cover the basics of editing, it gets faster. So I think the best trick is not to go too far in and try to cram up all the tricks of the trade, because especially as a beginner, it will just take too long to master those. So just master the very basic stuff first, and then just incrementally pour a little bit more water so the plant has room to grow. I think that's the trick to get things, because eventually it'll take you the same amount of time to edit a video, regardless how complicated it is, because you would have put in the amount of time to practice how to get that basic thing covered.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
That does make sense. So tell us a bit more about how you got into VR, and why did you think, hey, this topic is like so exciting, I want to go out there, I want to tell people about it, I want to make a YouTube channel. And probably you can also tell us a bit more about why you, as a Frenchman, are in Asia right now. You're in Singapore.
Yeah. So I got in, initially I was learning piano when I was a kid, like literally, I don't know, 8 years old at the time. My piano teacher took me to a VR little shop where they had these gigantic I don't even know how it fit on my head at the time. And it was like dungeons or something. It's like this chessboard, and there was this dragon flying around spewing this fire at literally 2 polygons, because the polygons back then were so minimal. And that's kind of how my first VR experience was. And then flash forward 20 years later, as VR had disappeared, then I stumbled on Remarcus's channel, and I was working for a corporate company here in Singapore at the time, and I was actually really bored, and it gave me an outlet to be creative. And when I saw Remarcus's channel, I went, wow, this is really awesome. He really sparked something in me. And I thought, hey, why don't I just, try and do something with VR, because this is the future. And then before that, I worked with Rick Garson, who's a creator and previous executive producer of the Billboard Music Awards. We did a show together in Beijing with hologram technology, not VR. So, I've always been in this space for quite a few years before it naturally, I guess, went into VR. So, and then, here we are today, I guess, just exercising that passion and trying to educate people about the practical uses of virtual reality more. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah.
So how does your normal week look like right now? Is it like all like editing videos, or are you making some VR events, or what is your normal weekday like, week work like?
A lot of crypto trading.
Yeah, that's how we can all survive, right?
That's how we survive. I'm also working with a very cool guy called Jeremy Dalton, who's the leading director for AR and VR for PricewaterhouseCoopers UK. So we're going to be launching his book in Allspace. So we're creating a world at the moment in conjunction with another company called Arlupa, who are an AR development agency and have a really awesome AR app. And, we're just building this thing, and hopefully we'll launch it within a couple months, because we've been working on it for a little while now.
Okay, very cool.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'll give you more later, in another time, because we're still working on it.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, Lazius, so great to have you on the show. And looking forward to talk about all these exciting topics that we're going to talk about today with you and with all the others. And Tetiana, good to see you again. It has been a while. It's been a couple of weeks that we didn't talk to each other. So how are you doing? And what have you been doing in VR or in general in the last few weeks?
Yeah, so these weeks have been busy, so I missed being on the show. But because of how busy it was with work, that's the reason why I couldn't play as much VR as I wanted to. And as some of you may know, I know, well, Sebastian knows, and maybe some people who watch the podcast for a while know I'm a doctoral candidate. And so I do a lot of research work, and I'm fortunate enough to do the research in the field of VR. And I've done a lot of progress in the past couple of weeks analyzing the data I collected on the use of virtual reality for social isolation related issues that were caused by the pandemic. So I was looking at how people who own VR sets are dealing with the social distancing, whether they're choosing to connect with other people and whether it's helping them. And I've collected quite a bit of data, and I managed to analyze it and find some very interesting, interesting findings based on that, and write it up in an article.
Okay.
It's not finished, so I can't share too much, but I hope it's going to get published. And this has just been an exciting time for me from the nerd researcher perspective, but I obviously still look forward to jumping back to gaming, to actually doing fun stuff with VR that I will be able to share. So I would just wanted to let you know I have been doing the VR stuff, but it's not as entertaining as you might expect. But I
Yeah,
hope to get back.
but doing research in VR is also kind of interesting, I think. And being able to do your PhD on VR, oh my goodness, that's a dream basically. Wow, that's so cool.
I love it.
So
I
when
love it.
yeah, perfect. So when are you actually going to get your PhD, and when are you going to be Dr. Tetiana, PhD in VR?
I will have it. Last month, I actually defended my portfolio, so I became a candidate, and that's a great step because it
Wow,
means that now I can focus on
that's
my
so complicated to
dissertation.
get this. Wow, congratulations. So
I'm done with
cool.
my coursework. Thank you so much. So my actual dissertation is not on the social aspect of VR, but on language learning, as you know. So that's also something really cool I'll be working on this summer, actually collecting the data from students who are learning
Mhm.
languages in virtual reality. And I hope to be a doctor next May in
Wow,
2022.
that's perfect. That's so cool.
And then I'll have more time for YouTube.
Wow, that's perfect.
This is really, yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was actually also in the middle of my PhD studies, but I had to stop my PhD because I had to go back to Germany for family reasons. But I was also doing it. But now I'm a
Where?
YouTuber.
Well, I
I
don't
was
know.
doing it in
You can
Taiwan, yeah.
maybe you will still get back because I know you
Yeah,
want
could
to
be.
teach. I think
Could
you
be,
would be a
exactly, yeah.
great teacher,
That would
teach
be
a
cool.
course on VR because
That would
it's
be
so much
amazing.
needed. There are
Yeah.
people who, if they're not in this niche, it's really hard for them to wrap their mind around what VR is
I
until
know.
they try. I think
Right.
there's a large need for VR education in general to bring
Yeah.
it to the
I
general
would
public.
I would love to teach that at one point in time. Who knows? Yeah. If there's any university out there who would like to have me teach there, I'm here, and my connection is in the down in the description of this video. Okay, cool. Yeah, Tatiana, great to have you on the show again.
Yeah.
For
Thank
me,
you.
I was also busy. I'm still working on that secret MRTV project that I'm going to tell you here on the channel about. So I did not do so much in VR actually. I was using Neos VR today. Neos VR is such a cool world. It's really like the metaverse. I don't know. Have you tried Neos VR? Any of you?
Yeah, I tried once. I know that Between Realities are promoting Skiva from Between Realities is promoting Neos a lot as well.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's really
I-
the metaverse. It feels crazy good.
How did it feel differently for you, compared to VR chat or Allspace or all those other VR social experiences?
It just feels like you are in Ready Player One. It just they made it so great with so many options, with your inventory, with your friends. It really feels great. I must make more videos about it. I think promoting it because it's so cool. So yeah, so now here in Germany we have like some meetups, the German VR meetups. They're organizing like an exhibition, like a real exhibition where you can go and where there's like stands. Just if you would go to CES, this kind of exhibition, and everything is in VR, and they're doing it in Neos VR, and I'm going to be like the reporter, like running around that exhibition, and it's fascinating. It's really amazing what you can do in VR right now. So yeah, shout out to VR Germany, who are going to do this big exhibition soon, and I'm going to show it on my channel. Yep, that's what I was doing and working on that secret project. That's why there's so little videos. Yeah, just recently I had to come out of my break to make this video about Airlink and virtual desktop. Really needed to get this out, and we're going to talk about this later. So yeah, that was what I was doing. So now let's get to our topics. We have lots of exciting topics to talk about before we get to the hot topic, but there's still lots of interesting things that we want to talk about. And let me just show my screen to the people who are watching this right now. So let's have a look at the Road to VR article. We're first going to talk about the Pico Neo 3. That is the successor, obviously, to the Pico Neo 2. And the Pico Neo 2 was already, yeah, I think the Lazius has it there. It's a very nice standalone headset that I also have here. It's a pretty decent headset. Can also stream Steam VR, actually. It has the battery in the back of the headset, which gives it like lots of balance. And I would even say it's more comfortable than the Quest 2 in terms
Definitely.
Right? It's very
Definitely.
comfortable. It's a very nice
Definitely.
headset.
Very comfortable, yeah.
Right. Really good. So the Pico Neo 2, the Pico Neo 3 has been announced, and now we know more of the specs. So the Pico Neo 3 is going to come out in China on 10th of May, and it's going to have a Snapdragon XR2. Now, well, that sounds familiar, right? It's just like the Quest 2. It has physical...
Same day as ViveCon.
Yeah.
Day as ViveCon.
Oh, same day as ViveCon. Oh, that's going to be very exciting. You're right. Same day as ViveCon.
That can be a coincidence.
Who knows? It has physical IPD adjustment. However, it seems to be like it. I think it's the same like the Quest 2, where you simply like change the lenses. I don't think that you would really change the displays. I also think it only has one screen. They have not talked about the screen yet, but you have three physical IPD adjustments. So just like the Quest 2, you would have like 3 different kind of options. So I think it's basically the same like the Quest 2. It has 4 wide-angle cameras providing millimeter-level positioning and tracking. So that is a big difference. So the Neo 2, it had a kind of different kind of tracking mechanism. It used electromagnetic, which is pretty cool. But I must say, it's good, but it's not as good as the Quest 1 and the Quest 2 tracking. Would you agree, Lazius?
No, totally. The fact is that infrared should be the standard, I think, for now for all headsets, because you can just get an IR light, an infrared light, put it in, plonk it wherever, and then play in total darkness. You can't do that with any other tracking on any other headset so far. So hands down, Quest 1, Quest 2 wins on that one. Yeah.
Exactly. But for the Pico Neo 3, it now has the same tracking like the Quest 2 and Quest 1. So it's interesting. It's basically like a carbon copy of the Quest 2, but with the battery in the back. And now there's one thing that really caught my eye in that Road to VR article that basically no one is talking about. And I would be talking about it if I was not on my video break. I would directly make a video about it, but nobody else was talking about it. And I would like to point this out. Curved screen. A curved screen clocked at 90 hertz refresh. So this would be the first headset that I would know of that actually has a curved screen in a VR headset. Isn't that kind of exciting? What do you think?
So I was thinking about it before the show, and I'm like, okay, curved screen. And I tried to imagine what kind of, how it would change the perception of VR. Because like when you look at the monitor, there's a flat screen monitor, there's a curved monitor, you can tell the difference. It's like closer to your eyes. All the corners of the screen are in the same distance to your view. But then in VR, you're already there. You don't really perceive the screen as flat. So maybe the reason why people don't talk about it as much is because they can't possibly even imagine what it would feel like. So there's not much to say. Yeah. It sounds cool, but on the back of my head, I wonder, is it just one thing that they decided to include because it sounds cool? How is it actually going to change their perception?
I'd love to know what Guy thinks on this, because also, Guy, when you do your virtual desktop stuff, I mean, you must have experimented on so many different headsets. So what kind of headset have you worked on? Other headsets that had these kind of fluctuating screens, and how did that affect, virtual desktop as you were developing it?
I don't think I've worked with any VR headset that had a curved screen before, but the only thing I imagine is just so much more math to get the distortion correct. And so I'm not sure it's that much of a good idea, because if the curve is slightly different, then it means that you need to have some calibration step. I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like a bad idea, but I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in math and distortion and all that, but I have a feeling that maybe, however, it could be that it's something that future headsets will have, because it could reduce the amount of distortion that you have to do in software and through the lens. So there might be an advantage there, but I'm not an expert in any way in optics. So
right. I think that is really the point. If I'm thinking about like making huge FOVs possible, the problem that these headsets now have, if they have these canted displays, like for example the Pimax headsets, is exactly that point. You will get to a point where you have to have so much kind of distortion algorithms working on it, and these algorithms are not good enough to really get this distortion out. That's why with this huge FOV headsets like the Pimax, you have to battle distortions in your peripheral vision. But if you would have like a nice curved screen, you could actually have a bigger FOV, even with a smaller footprint, right? So you wouldn't have this kind of like super sharp headsets like you have with the Pimax headsets, but instead have like a headset which looks kind of normal, like how it does look like this kind of headset, but then still have a bigger FOV. So in my dreams right now, I would hope that they somehow came up with that bigger FOV, like just slightly bigger FOV than the normal headsets, without having to have without the problem of distortion. So that's what I'm hoping. Obviously, we all don't know. We're going to find out in 10th of May. But if they could come out there on 10th of May and say, you know what, we have a headset here which has the same specs like the Quest 2. Probably they can even use the XR2 chipset better because they have a better cooling mechanism. We all know that the Quest 2 XR2 chipset is not really being used because they don't have any kind of cooling mechanism that is good enough to cool the XR2 chipset down. That's why it's not using the full potential, right? But it seems like this Pico Neo 2, it seems like there's some kind of cooling mechanism. Or let's see if there's some pictures here. Let me show that again. So here on the front of the headset, there's some kind of, I would call it like a grill, where some fresh air can come inside. And obviously we hope that's not going to be too loud, this kind of cooling thing. But I believe this is the place where they can really cool down the XR2 chipset in a way that would allow developers to really access the raw power of that XR2 chipset, and then they could probably say, hey, we have the XR2 chipset, you can really use it, and we have a little bit of a bigger FOV because we have a curved screen. Interesting, right? Could be like an interesting device.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also on the current Pico Neo 2, there is a grill at the front as well.
Right.
And honestly speaking, you can hear the fan, but you can hear the fan on every single headset, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Okay. Wow. So very interesting.
But it reminds me of the Star Trek visor, the curved ones.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Jordi is wearing it in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Jordi LaForge. Yeah. Let's geek out a bit here. So this device in China, it's going to be targeted at normal people who want to play games. And they do have a library of games, and all these good things are happening in China. But in the West, most probably, it's not going to be a competition for the Quest 2, right? What do you think, Lazius?
Well, we were talking on Between Realities last night about this. Basically, I feel personally that the marketing strategy and business position is really to ride their own wave and create their own wave, which is to become a marketing platform for developers through Pico Studios. Say, hey guys, by the way, we have 2 billion people on, who use our. I mean, this is in the future, of course, because you got 1 point whatever billion people in China and 1 point whatever billion people in India, for example. And say, hey, you're a Western developer. Hey, Virtual Desktop, do you want 2 billion more people to use your stuff? And I think that's where they're really going. That's where it would make more sense, because the amount of investment that they just got, even though it sounds like a lot of money, $60+ million or something, it's not actually in the grand scheme of things that much money in this space, to do much in terms of development plus marketing plus everything else, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they develop, for sure.
I actually would maybe try to argue against the opinion that it will not be able to compete with Quest 2 because, well, okay, so first of all, in terms of design, yeah, it really looks like Quest, and it looks like they didn't even try to make it look different because, well, in China, Facebook is banned, so they can't use it anyway. So why develop some new design that they would have to build new pool of people who would know that they can trust this headset? They would rather make something similar to something already reliable. They don't need to make anything different. It just doesn't have to require Facebook. And that could be an interesting point that would separate this headset from Quest, because even in Europe or the US, there's still plenty of people who are not happy with the fact that we need to link our identities and our Facebook. Right, Sebastian?
In Germany, I mean, we cannot even buy the Quest 2. We can buy no Facebook headset in Germany. So yeah, like we would probably be grateful if it came here.
So, exactly. So don't you think that Pico Neo 3 has this leverage that can attract certain users to have the same benefits, maybe even more, depending on how well they do the FLV and these curved screens, and maybe take more advantage of Snapdragon and offer something better? Maybe it will be even cheaper than what we can see now. I think it totally can be a very good competitor, especially because Quest desperately needs a competitor. It's getting out of hand. We can see this. So I think that there's something out there. I would like to see where it goes.
Well, I hope you're right. But looking at the press release, it seems that at the moment it's not where they're focusing on. But of course, I hope that you're right, and it would be awesome. And also hope that HTC get it right with their next standalone.
Right.
That would be fantastic, to have a really good, because they really have the money and the backing, and it seems that they really want to go for the Western market more or as much as the Asian market. So it's going to be very interesting to see that battle. But I really hope that Pico, can attract all those Westerners, because they have a lot of work to do in their store. Sebastian, I mean, I went into they did an update recently and stuff, and it's still quite hard to, for example, you can't put a key inside and just redeem stuff. You are supposed to be able to change your currency, but it doesn't actually, there's a little bit of debugging to do there. So I think they need to get those kind of things right as well, to make it easier for people to purchase apps for their friends or their families and all that kind of things as well.
Right.
So
it looks to me that both the Pico and HTC are targeting China because the Quest 2 is in there, but they've both said that they don't want to compete with Quest 2 in the rest of the world, probably because they're not going to be able to get the price as low as the Quest 2. And they said in their release that they are only targeting business customers in the rest of the world. So yeah, it makes it hard for developers, for us to be, motivated to support it, because if there's no market, if they're not going to sell units outside of China, it's
but it depends on how they approach it. They might be changing their strategy, because haven't they already included some of the big titles? What was it, Pistol Whip, a few other games that are already on this store? Maybe it's just the start. So I'm actually curious. Yeah, I'm curious to see maybe how they will go about convincing developers to bring games and apps on their platform if that's their plan.
2 billion Chinese people. That's the way to get them.
I think you make a very good point, and exactly, Sebastian, as you just mentioned. So I think over time, as they amass all these developers and get the trust or the seal of approval from the development community, basically, then it'll trickle down to the Western market. But like you just said, Sebastian, I think the way to lure all those developers is to say, hey, we got 1 billion more people for you who could eventually
that's kind of exciting in general. Exactly. It really makes sense, because if they would go now to the Western market, they would fail, because, well, just like just like Guy said, they cannot bring the price of this down to 299 euros. They are not a small startup, but they are still a startup, right? And they would go into a battle that they can't win because, of course, people even here in Germany, we can't buy it, but okay, we can still buy it in France. I go to Amazon France, I order it, and in 2 days it's here in Germany. So yeah, that's what we do here. So they have no chance actually to compete, and all the games, right? Like Oculus is killing it. They are killing it. So why would I go and buy some Chinese headset that probably is going to cost like double the price as the Quest 2, and it doesn't have the games that I want, Resident Evil 4 and all the games that we're going to talk about. So it makes sense that they don't want to compete here in the West against Oculus, and they can't. And that's sad, of course, but we're going to get to this a bit later. So it makes sense that they're going to appeal to the enterprise market. I do consult companies here in Germany, and they do not want the Quest because they're also like afraid of their data going probably to the Facebook servers. And if you cannot simply buy a Quest and use it for enterprise because you have to log in with your Facebook details, doesn't work. And then if you go for the enterprise Quest 2, it costs like $1,000. And okay, then I probably...
And you don't have access to the store either when you're
exactly.
business customers.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't play any games or install any apps from the store. I've had so many people who ask me, I got a business Quest. How do I install Virtual Desktop? I have to tell them, you can't because Oculus blocked the entire store.
Right. So it's not so exciting, actually, and lots of people ask me here in Germany, like in the enterprise market, so how about the Pico Neo 2? And I tell them, the Pico Neo 2 is an interesting device, but now I will tell them, hey, the Pico Neo 3, obviously, right? It's probably, I will check it here on the channel when I'm coming out of my break. How good is it? And probably it's going to be as good as the Quest in terms of hardware. I believe so because the Pico Neo 2 was already
the same.
Good. It's probably the same, right? Yeah, exactly. The same chip and everything. So then it's going to be easy for people like Guy to port the software onto the Pico Neo 3, right?
It's not that easy because Oculus has their own SDK.
Right.
If you're a Unity or Unreal developer, it's fairly straightforward because the plugins will take care of that for you. But for me, in my case, I use the native SDK.
Right.
And so if I want to support a different headset, it's months of work for me. So it's not something I can just do quickly. But OpenXR is becoming more popular and starting to get the headset manufacturers on board. So it's probably something I will be doing in the future, supporting my app through with other headsets through OpenXR.
That is cool. So basically it means if you would program like a version of Virtual Desktop against the OpenXR SDK, all the headsets that support OpenXR would directly be able to use Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, correct.
Wow.
Just a couple of tweaks here and there, but I would be able to support all the headset,
Wow.
That's big.
That is really
that's big news. Big news for you, Sebastian.
Yeah, it is. I think it's fantastic. Like I have so many headsets here, so it would be amazing to use them. And actually, that was also one of the questions from the community when I was asking on Twitter. Do you have any questions for Guy? They were asking, Guy, why do you only support Oculus headsets? But it makes sense because they are the most popular headsets, of course, right?
They have 99% of the market, so
for any developer, it will make sense to have that, right? So, were you approached? Can I ask you this? Were you approached by other companies to port your virtual desktop, for example, to the HTC Vive Focus or to the Pico Neo too? Or did somebody ask you? Because you are obviously like the best guy to implement that functionality.
It would be
I'm always approached. I was approached by headset manufacturers. I can't really speak about it because usually it's NDAs. But I'm looking forward to supporting other headsets than the Quest 2 and the Quest. There's a lot of companies that are jumping onto the mobile VR side, so I'm looking forward to seeing competition actually.
Okay, perfect. Are you going to be on HTC's new headset?
I can't say yet, but hopefully yes.
Oh, okay, cool. You cannot officially say yes, but hopefully yes. Okay, that sounds pretty amazing. So wow.
So that means that HTC might not have an additional hardware in that case to patch to the PC, because that was a question we were asking ourselves, is whether
Oh wow.
you have
I
to
think
put an extra thing, right?
Oh wow, I do believe that now we have it confirmed that the next standalone headset from HTC will be able to stream PC VR content. Guy, always good to have you on the show to learn these kind of things. And all the people who are watching the show right now, they heard it first. And that brings us to our next topic here. And the next topic is the following. ViveCon 2021 is something that HTC has now announced on their Twitter account. Yeah, the Twitter account is very interesting. The HTC Vive Twitter account, I can just recommend everyone to follow them because there's always something exciting going on there. So May 11th, no, it's one day later actually than the Pico thing. The Pico thing is on, yeah. So May 11th and 12th is ViveCon 2021. And HTC has announced that, and they are teasing a headset reveal. So I believe in the picture that they have posted on their Twitter, it seems to be that silhouette of that new headset, of that standalone headset that we're all hoping for. So we don't know anything else about ViveCon 2021, but most probably only going to be about, it's not only going to be about this headset, but this headset should be revealed finally. And I must tell you, in my opinion, they are not doing a great job like teasing it for such a long time. I mean, HTC, they've been teasing that tracker for 6 days where everyone thought, okay, that is the standalone headset. And I was the guy, right, who was like making the videos about it. Like I was so excited about it, but and then it turned.
Tricked you.
Yeah, they tricked me.
We all to be fair, they tricked all of us.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
we were all dummies on that one. So.
Yeah, right. So and the thing about this that I want to tell everyone, I don't understand the Vive PR. Why don't they tell people like me before with embargo, okay, Sebastian, we're not teasing the headset yet, right? I mean, I wouldn't say anything, right? So why didn't they just like tell me before? But anyways, that's another story. Now we're talking about ViveCon 2021 and the headset, and they now teased like this one picture of this headset where we see a camera, but now it seems they're only going to give us more details May 11th, and I have the feeling it's a bit too long, the time from now until May 11th. How do you think about that, Tetiana?
I just wonder why they're being so secretive about it. Don't they really want to build a hype about it? Because if they are preparing something amazing, if there's like some kind of developed technology, better visuals, better resolution, FLV, I mean, wouldn't they want us to get hyped about it? I don't understand. I think it's a little bit misleading. I mean, I personally think it's still going to be quite expensive for a standalone headset.
Sure.
However, they develop, because Vive always has a little bit like higher, I don't know.
They need to make money from the hardware as compared to Facebook, who don't, right? So it's a different story.
If they do have better hardware packed into it, and it is going to be more expensive, I also think it's going to be one of the possible competitors to Quest 2, because there are people who will be willing to spend more money to get a better quality headset and to have it wireless at the same time. I think it's a good move. I'm actually getting excited seeing so many really promising wireless standalone headset coming out, because we need those. We really, really, really need those.
I think so too.
I might expand my own collection because I've been a Quest girl for so long. I really need to get more to compare them. So this is good news for me personally.
Gonna be interesting. Lazius, what do you think? Do you think this is a headset that could probably compete against the Quest 2? What is it? Is it just for enterprise, or is it like something that's also for us and consumers with games and stuff? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think Tetiana made a very good point there in what she was saying, but also to add to that, I mean, HTC, I think it's just great the way they tricked us. To be honest with you, I think it's just a show of good sense of humor, and we shouldn't just take ourselves too seriously.
That's just
Yeah,
mean.
that's
That's
for
mean,
sure.
though.
That's for
right?
sure.
And also, I think they're just milking the cow as much as they possibly can, to be honest.
Too much, in
In
my
terms,
opinion. Oh, they're milking that
sure.
cow. Wow.
They have to, because look at what happened with Facebook recently. They just, boom, went in there and they're like, how dare you start talking about HTC? No, 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 no. And then they came out with all their new stuff the last week, and a huge offensive by them, right? So I think in terms of answering your question for this one, it's great that they released the Vive Focus, because it actually is a standalone headset as well. So it gave them some room to maneuver there in terms of experimenting potentially with some of the technology perhaps that they'll bring into whatever headset they'll call it, that they hopefully will be revealing. So it sounds to me it could be for both business and consumers. But they did say, okay, now
Let's get
it's
down to
time for
business. Let's get
let's
down to
get down to
business. Yeah.
business, right? So that could be a hint.
Right. That makes sense.
We're just gonna have to see how it goes. But I think they definitely don't want to get this one wrong if it is going to be for mass consumers, because it'll be very hard for, I think, the general public to trust them if they get it wrong on this one compared to the Cosmos, right? Where they had a lot of issues.
They kind of got it wrong with the Cosmos. Let's just say it, right? And it was like, in my opinion, it was only one of their last chances with us consumers to get it right, but they couldn't get it right. So that is kind of a problem. The thing is, if this headset is for enterprise only, it wouldn't make sense that they're teasing it like they do, because they tease it on Twitter as if it was for us consumers. If it was only for enterprise, then they could just make like one press release. Okay, this is our headset. This is the best for consumers. But instead, they're doing it as if it was something that we should be excited about. What do you think? Guy, do you think this is going to be something that is for consumers as well, or is it only enterprise?
I think they're going to market it as enterprise, so that way they can charge a premium on it and not look too bad, right? They did that a bit with the Vive Pro, right? It's the professional, but they charge a premium on it, but then regular consumers buy it. So I think it's going to be the same deal here, where they're not going to prevent regular consumers from getting it, but they're likely just going to target professionals and enterprise.
Okay, that makes sense. But why do they tease it as if it was something exciting for consumers? Is it just like the PR department doesn't know what they're doing, or what is it?
No, it's because they want to sell it to consumers too. They just don't want to officially advertise it as such, right? Okay. Because if they release it as it's a Quest 2 competitor, then immediately all the articles are going to come out. HTC releases a Quest competitor, but it's double the price.
Okay,
and
you're right.
All the negative headlines are going to come in.
Okay, that makes sense.
And also, let's not forget that if you had, for example, Singapore Airlines or whatever airlines, buying an enterprise headset, generally speaking, they would buy it in bulk. So suddenly you have 100 or 500 people or 1,000 people using it to be trained for whatever purpose. And then if indeed it is a good headset, and they trust their company to have gone, they bought this one because obviously it has to be the best one, then perhaps, that would also be a side door way to get them to boost sales on the consumer front after doing the enterprise sale.
Right, that makes sense.
Perhaps.
So if this is an enterprise headset only, then there's probably not a game store, right? Guy, what do you think? Will there be something like a Quest store, or are there some mobile games that could be played on this standalone, or only streaming using virtual desktop?
No, I think it's still going to be a good consumer headset, like the original Focus were, right? They weren't that great, but they were consumer headsets, right? You could install games and all that, right? You could still do everything you do on a headset. So I don't think they would block that. I'm sure they're going to make it available for consumers, but I have a feeling that they're just doing this to avoid the comparison against the Quest 2 directly. So only inform users that don't want a Facebook account are going to go and buy it, right? So.
And they have Viveport.
They do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but exactly.
You're right. Actually, Viveport is pretty exciting. I really like
Yeah.
Viveport Infinity. Like it costs like $15, but you have amazing games. Actually, also current games. So for people who are new to VR, who don't know what to buy, actually, wow, Viveport Infinity is pretty amazing, and that's something that we should keep in mind. But yeah, they would have to bring in their mobile store for Viveport, right? I think they do have it in China, but they would have to also give us access in the West to it. I hope they would do that. Do you think they would do that? Probably yes, right?
Would make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? It makes sense. Exactly.
You
Yep.
mean you can't use Viveport in Europe?
Yeah, the PC version, yes, but not the mobile version. Like there's a mobile version in China.
Yes, it's on the DPVR and also
Right, exactly.
on the Pico, I think. if I'm
Yep,
not wrong.
exactly. But in Europe,
Yeah.
it doesn't. We don't have access to it, so that's
And-
something that
and
they
I-
would have to do.
And I really hope that if they do enable the Viveport, that they give people the ability to actually download the games directly on the HTC Standalone and not stream them, because
okay.
the streaming, there's a huge lag issue.
Okay.
So we're not there yet. So I hope that they do provide that flexibility as well.
Right. That would make sense. Well, why wouldn't they allow it? Since it's a standalone headset, and probably it could do it, so it makes sense. Well, so it's going to be really exciting to find out what kind of headset it's going to be. So most probably it's going to be expensive. I think we all agree on this, right? They're going to market this towards enterprise. So my guess, I say it's going to cost at least $799, so $800. What do you think?
I'll probably agree with that. It's going to be not as expensive as Apple, but it's going to be something in between of the Quest and the Apple. Yeah, I think that's a fair price, $700, $800. Would you buy it for that much?
Me, yes, obviously, but I am also running MRTV. So, how about
You'd buy
Guy-
anything.
yeah, I'll buy everything. So, Guy and Lazius, what do you think? How expensive is it going to be?
Guy, you go
600.
first.
600,
Ah.
just a guess.
Okay, 600. That sounds pretty
Just a
okay.
guess.
No, I
Lazius?
have no privileged information. Don't
Just a
worry.
guess.
What do you think, Lazius?
Alvin, did Guy just say the real price? Could be anything, but I think people, like Tetiana was mentioning earlier, in terms of Facebook's privacy concerns and login stuff. I think that I did a tiny little survey, but people seem to have said that they'll be very happy. Let's not forget that HTC have a very good following of
They
people
do.
who are inching. They really want to go back to HTC, right? So they'd be very happy to pay an extra $200-300 to go back to
Yeah.
HTC. So I think if it was $600, $700, who knows? We could have a good competition on our hands here.
Okay, let's see. Wow, that would
Yeah.
be very nice. So let's say if it was really like let's okay, I said 800 and Guy said 600. Let's say $700. We have now fixed the price for this.
So-
headset. It's going to be $699. I would like
The
to
price
ask
is right.
exactly. I would
Price is
like
right, yeah.
I would like to ask the people who are watching this live right now, would you pay $699 for a VR headset that is good, probably better than the Quest 2 in terms of hardware, that has like its own store and that allows you to stream your PC VR content and that will not require you to log in with your Facebook account? Would you buy this headset? Say yes, and say no if you would not buy it. And please be honest about it. Right? It is double the price of the Quest 2, right? So be honest. Would you buy it? Yes, say yes, and no, say no. Would really like to know what our audience actually thinks about it. So let's see what our audience says. So RG says $449 or bust. Janred says yes. Let me put on my glasses to be able to read this. Jarut, yes. If they
Yes.
actually commit to it, yes. Artsin is honest. He says no. Jojo, yes. Yes, no more Facebook. Yes. Artsin says no games. Yeah, probably that's true as compared to what Oculus has, right? They will definitely be in the advantage for games, and we're going to get to this in the next topic. So Afonso, no. Some yes, no. Get the Quest 3. So yeah, if they start to develop games as well, then yes, probably no. Yep. So yep, let's say probably it's 50-50-ish.
Also, was there any mentioning of controllers on this headset, or did I miss it somehow?
No, we don't know. We
They
don't know anything.
Oh, yeah.
they didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
mention it because that's I don't know if it had a hand tracking feature and there are no controllers, you just use your hands like what Apple seems to promote. That would be a really cool thing
That
to
would be
hype it
cool.
up as well.
Yeah, right.
But we don't know anything.
Yeah, and the thing is, we are really spoiled by Quest 2 because it's so good, right? It's so cheap, and the hand tracking, it's so good, right? The tracking, everything is so good. So we are really spoiled, and it's not easy to compete against the Quest 2 because I must admit it, and I'm not a fan of what Facebook is doing with the forced Facebook login, but the device itself, it's great, and all the software, everything is perfect. I must admit it, it's the best consumer VR headset that we have right now.
I heard there were a lot of issues since version 27 or 26. There were a lot of people who are having
Really? Okay.
a lot of problems with their Quest.
Yeah,
And I don't
the
know, as you know, I don't have a
software
Quest. I sold all my
Yeah.
Quests, so I don't know, but
Wow.
that's what I heard.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots of performance regressions since a couple updates.
Okay.
The Guardian especially is just a pain in the butt. It just it tanks the performance, and yeah, lots of users complain about that on Reddit. And
Okay.
yeah, it's been a problem for a few updates. So
All right. Okay, guys.
it's all solvable.
Interesting to know. Yeah, all right. Of course. And they got lots of people who will for sure work on this right now. Anyways, let's get to our next topics here. So we are now getting into Quest topics, into Oculus topics. So let's talk about these. And I'm going to share my screen. The Oculus Gaming Showcase is going to go down next week, and we're probably going to hear from Lone Echo 2 again. No, not probably. We are going to hear from Lone Echo 2. We haven't heard from Lone Echo 2 for quite a while. They should have been releasing their game like lots of time before already. So it's kind of time that we hear what's going to happen with Lone Echo 2. And now we're going to hear from Lone Echo 2. And I would like to ask you, Tetiana, for example. Tetiana, what do you think? Is Lone Echo 2 going to become a Quest 2 exclusive? Or is it also going to come out on the Rift store? Something that Facebook has not done anymore, like launch something on the Rift store for PC.
Well, it's a tough question. Probably maybe last week I would definitely say no, it's not going to be an exclusive. Why would they ever do that? Of course, they want to do it on Rift and everywhere. Let's make it accessible. But then the surprise with Resident Evil came to see the light of the day for only not just exclusive for Quest systems, but for Quest 2. I mean, we'll talk about it, right?
Right.
So after they pulled this stunt, I have no idea what to expect. They just might, but it will be a real betrayal because everyone who has played Lone Echo on different systems, they'll be expecting, to play the sequel. They will be excited about it. If it's just Quest 2 exclusive, that will be a huge disappointment, and I don't know if that's what's going to happen. However, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's depending on how they want to play it.
Right. Lazius, what do you think?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, why is there still sorry, I don't mean to say this.
You can say everything on this show. It's amazing.
Why is there an Oculus Rift store still?
Yeah, right.
Is it going to be there for long? That's my first question.
Okay.
Is it going to be cross-compatible with other VR headsets if they're going to stop the Rift and they're going to keep, the Oculus Store? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out in the air. Also, Paradise Decay was saying that there's a rumor saying that apparently it's going to be available as Quest 3 with Quest 2 compatibility. So what does that?
No, he was. I think PD was only making a joke here. Hi, PD. Good to have you here.
Okay,
No. Wow. Now that would be very surprising. But Bosworth has already, in a recent AMA, said the Quest 3 is not a thing right now, and the Quest Pro 2 no. The Quest 2 Pro also no. And the Quest 2 is going to be their headset for a long time now. So no Quest 3 and no surprises with Quest 3. So, Guy, what do you think about Lone Echo 2? Do you have an opinion about this? Do you think it's going to happen Quest 2 only, or is it going to be a Rift game?
It depends really when they started the development, because, for Medal of Honor, they had been on PC for a while.
Right.
But then they kind of gave up on marketing anything, just said, oh yeah, just release it, whatever, we spent so much money on it, and just release it. And it was like an afterthought, really. They didn't really care about it anymore. So I have a feeling if they announce Lone Echo 2, it's probably going to be Quest 2 only, maybe, and maybe Quest, because they have Echo VR running on Quest, right? So I have a feeling they probably would be supporting it, Lone Echo 2 only or Quest 1. But it's definitely not coming out on the Rift Store. The Rift Store, in my opinion, is dead, and Oculus wish it died sooner.
Right. It makes I totally agree with Guy. I totally agree. Why would they want to somehow revive the Rift Store? The Rift is dead for them. They don't have the Rift. They don't sell it anymore, right? So why would they come out with their blockbuster with really an amazing game? Most probably it's going to be an amazing game. Why would they encourage people to somehow get the Rift S to play it, right? Like a headset that they don't support anymore, that they don't sell. It doesn't make sense. Obviously, super obviously, the Quest 2 is where it's at, right? Everything, all the excitement is about the Quest 2. It's a great headset, and they're putting all the resources there. So why should it be there, and why shouldn't it be on Quest 2? And then, really, they're going to make every single person, even the people who have the Quest 1 and who are thinking, oh, I don't need to upgrade because I love my OLED. No. Everyone has to get the Quest 2 now. That is the de facto standard for virtual reality. And here is your killer app. It's only running on Quest 2. It cannot even run on Quest 1.
Right.
I think it makes sense for them. I would say they don't take prisoners. I think we all agree on this, right, Guy? They don't take prisoners. They are just going for it, and they don't care about the people who got the Rift S, those few 100,000 people.
Right.
They don't care about.
Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Like they have probably my guesstimate is probably around 5 million Quest 2, 2 million Quest 1s, and about only 10% of those users actually have a PC to run PCVR games. So for a game developer, if you want to release a game, you can either choose to target mobile, where you're going to reach like 100% of the user, or you can target PCVR, where you're going to get 10% of the Quest plus all the PCVR headsets, which is probably like maybe 1 million, 2 million total. So it's kind of like the market is 5 times bigger if you go for mobile. So it just makes sense from a business perspective to target the Quest.
Right. So, yeah. I think then we all think it's going to come out on Quest 2, right? Or does anyone think it's going to come out in the Rift? I don't think so. Well, let's see.
I mean, I don't have tons of coding experience, but you can code for the PC version and then just render it in a way that it's optimized for the Quest. So
it's not that simple.
But I'm kind of curious if we will talk about the Airlink and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So if they are making it native, it means that they're going to try to get people to actively use it too. How will they use it if there is no Rift Store, if there is nothing to stream? Maybe Rift Store will go under some changes and it won't be Rift Store anymore. It will be Oculus PC VR Store, something like that, with all the games that would only work through PC, but they're actually for Quest, not for Rift anymore. Yeah. Why wouldn't they do something like that?
They're going to have to change the name for sure. Right now it's called the Rift Store, and the Rift is dead or is going to die very soon. So they will have to check. But I have a feeling that the games that Oculus will release will not be for PCVR. I have a feeling it's Valve and all the other players who are going to push PCVR, and they should, because it's still a great way to have games, and a lot of people want to, build their own PCs and tweak things and get the games running as best as they can. And a lot of people also don't like the mobile graphics, right? Because they're a lot more simplistic, and people want to have like the best possible experience, and you need a PC to do that. So,
right.
Do you think that they would open the Rift Store to be cross-compatible with other PC VR headsets? I mean, do you think that's Facebook?
No. They haven't done that, and I wish they
that would be too generous for them.
No, I mean they would make money from it, because they would actually take a commission or a cut or a
They-
sub-license or whatever, right?
But aren't they all about exclusivity? And that will be not exclusive at all.
I guess
They
they
probably
could-
don't make a lot of money from the PC store, honestly. They probably
Right.
make like 1% of the Quest store revenue right now. It's so low. It's incredible.
I can only tell you one thing. All these amazing games, Asgard's Wrath, and all these games, they are going to stream to the Quest 3. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, I said it again. Cloud XR streaming is going to happen, and okay, probably not this year, but it's going to happen soon enough. We now just had the news that NVIDIA's Cloud XR is now also supported by the Amazon Cloud, right? So it's going to be very easy to set this up and to make this run. So in my opinion, all these games that are now exclusive to the Rift store, they will be on the Quest 3 via cloud streaming. So yeah, one more time that I could mention that I believe in the cloud.
So you mean a bit like what Shadow's doing, right? Or Vive
Yeah,
Stadia.
of course,
Right.
exactly. That's going to be the big thing, probably for the Quest 3 or Quest 4, but it is going to happen. We don't need.
And you know that Oculus put that VRC note, right? That apps that stream to the cloud are not allowed on the store.
Yeah, right. Because they
That
will
means
make
that
it.
they're working on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you of all people know that the best, and of course they are working on this right now. So that's why they're not allowing any
Obviously.
other company to get into the market. It's just the same thing
Yep.
like with virtual
That's a
desktop.
good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, okay, all right. So let's get to the next topic very quickly. And yeah, we also have mentioned it before. And the topic is that Resident Evil 4 is going to come out, and it's going to be the first game that is Quest 2 only. So it's not at all supported for the Quest 1 owners. So that is very remarkable, because before we had the clear announcement from Oculus that all games must be compatible for Quest 1 and 2. But it seems like with this kind of policy is now gone, and I do see that we have now the goodbye for the Quest 1 owners, right? We see that Airlink is not supported on the Quest 1. We see now the first game, the first Quest 2 game is going to come out. So would you agree that now we're seeing the goodbye for the Quest 1, Lazius?
Well, this is going to pose a lot of issues, I think, because the Oculus Quest 1, if I'm not wrong, you don't need a Facebook account yet to play it, right? Is that right? It's not until next year or something?
That is right, but if you get a Quest 1, you cannot make a new Oculus account. So before you could make, so you still have to use a Facebook account now.
If you mean you still have to use a Facebook account now with the Oculus Quest 1? I thought you had a choice.
If you already have an Oculus account,
if you already
yes,
have it,
but you
right.
cannot make a
Okay.
new Oculus
Okay.
account. So basically,
Right.
you're still forced to make a Facebook account.
Right. So for new users, they have to
Right.
create a Facebook. Right?
Exactly.
So I think for all those who have been hoarding their Oculus Quest 1, waiting for, whatever other headset coming, then that might, cause some issues. We're going to see a lot of Reddit things coming out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, of course, if we look at the history, like Oculus Go, I think they stopped, updating the App Store over there. So for sure, it's going to be a matter of time if, app developers, can't sell stuff on the Quest
Right.
1, then it
I want
doesn't
to
make
make a
sense.
correction also is that it's still in the policy that if you're a Quest and Quest 2 developer, your app has to work for both headsets. I think it's
Okay.
only specific developers that have been granted permission to only support Quest 2, but the average indie developer has to support both headsets. It's like Facebook's favorite policy, where their policy applies only to certain people, not everyone.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not
You
a
just-
coincidence.
So,
Right. Sorry, I totally interrupted you. I got really excited about what you're saying, because it really makes sense. It's not a coincidence that it's Resident Evil 4. That's the game that gained that permission. Like Paradise Decay said here, it's generating so much like attention from people who have never tried VR before, but they played Resident Evil for years. And now
Right.
the only way they can play it is by buying Oculus Quest 2, not 1, not
Right.
Rift.
Right.
Oculus Quest 2, and this is going to draw so many people just for
Yeah.
that one game. And
Of
if
course.
they get it amazing, then
Yeah.
they will get VR fans for life. This is
Yeah.
a brilliant move.
Yeah, of course.
And let's be
Also-
honest, supporting the Quest 1, when you do a game for Quest 1 and 2, it's the same operating system, it's exactly the same code. The only thing you need to change to support the Quest 1 is lower a bit your eye resolution, and that's it. It supports exactly the same things, has the same same like functionality and all that. So it's really a decision for them not to support Quest 1 because it's not that much more work to do, really.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. So I would like to read out something from an AMA with Andrew Bosworth, the president of Facebook Reality Labs. And he says, we may eventually allow developers who have really high-end apps to target Quest 2 alone, but our very strong recommendation is to support both. And that's actually what we expect to have happen based on historical norms. So they still recommend it, but now it does sound a bit different than before. Before it was like just like you said, like you have to do it. But now they are kind of going to a strong recommendation. And well, there's still probably an install base of 1 to 2 million Quest 1s. So, well, it's for developers, it's still 1 million people who could probably give you $1. And well, if I was a developer, I would still, of course, do it for both. It makes sense, right? Just from the money. Depending, of course, if you really have this high-end app that only can work on the Quest 2, then of course it might be.
You can scale it down easily. It's
right.
I think it's just either they don't want to put. It costs maybe a little more for a big studio to support on other devices. It's more testing. It's a little more, but it's not that much more complicated.
Okay.
And it's also not that much more money. If we were saying that only 1% comes from the store, would you rather make that a fraction of a percent, or would you rather use this opportunity to push people to buy a more expensive headset? So it's obvious what they chose.
Well, content is king, and this is going to put more pressure on HTC and Pico's not going for the masses, but whoever will be coming out. It just goes to show that these are the kind of marketing strategies I think competitors will also have to think about quite seriously.
Right. So, wow, very interesting what we see here. Anyways, Facebook is pushing the Quest 2 like never before, right? It's, again, this very competitive price point, all the apps and all the games, everything is coming out on this headset. And, well, I must tell you, that's where it is. That's where the VR industry is right now, the Quest 2. And Andrew Bosworth has also said, okay, the Quest 2 is where it's at. We're not having the Quest 3. The Quest 3 is not a thing. It's not going to come out in this year. Also, there's no Quest 2 Pro coming out in this year. There was this rumor that's going to come out based on an AMA that he did before. So now he made it super clear, no Quest 2 for the foreseeable future. And that's it. And for sure, they do work on other things, but that's not going to come out this year. So everyone can focus on this year. And well, they are pushing out the updates like crazy, right? You can see they are working on this. They are improving it. It's getting better and better. And now we're getting to update number 28 of the software. And that was, of course, big news. So let's have a look what the update number 28 can do. It's going to get AirLink for wireless PC VR, something completely innovative and new. Right, and then it's going to have a 120 hertz refresh rate. That is of course very interesting for this headset, and it's going to have keyboard and desk tracking. Something honestly very exciting and very interesting, that you can see your keyboard in VR. At the moment, there's only one keyboard that is supported. I think it's a Logitech keyboard that you can buy, and then you can see that keyboard in VR as well together with your hands. So that should make it easier for you to work in virtual reality, and that's something that is absolutely.
The keyboard is discontinued, by the way. They don't make it anymore.
Oh, this keyboard you cannot buy it anymore.
What?
Oh no!
But you can buy it, but it's on
buy
the
it.
existing inventory.
Which keyboard? Sorry, which keyboard?
It's a Logitech K830.
Right.
Well, the official keyboard you can't buy it anymore.
Oh wow, that is interesting.
Well, you can buy it on Amazon, but it's usually from resellers or I don't think Logitech makes it anymore. So they're going to add more keyboards. So I know.
That's interesting.
Because
It's
I
because
assume, so
That's
they
very
picked this
interesting.
one specific model, K830. I assume, as all these new features, there'll be an experimental feature, and they're decided to, yeah, they chose this keyboard for whatever reasons they had, and to have a one-to-one match with an
Right.
actual keyboard and the one you see. So that's why it's only one model. And they 100% they will include more models as they
Right.
master
They,
this technology.
they
But what's
said
the
it, yeah,
point
right.
of What's the point of choosing something that's already discontinued, or
Yeah,
what's the
that's
point of
strange.
discontinuing it after
I
they
think
do
they
it?
started work on this probably 2 years ago when
Right.
that was like a popular
Yeah.
keyboard, and now that keyboards they change every year, right? So
So now they have the pressure to get this technology nailed down as soon as possible to include other keyboards.
Right.
But
Right.
we hope they will get it done. I'll be honest, I already ordered it as soon
I
as
mean,
I read about it because I
it's
want
very
to check
interesting.
it out.
you should.
Yeah.
They're going to be hard to get.
I'd love to know how they scan that specific keyboard, because every keyboard is more or less the same size.
Right.
Maybe the keyboard has something inside. It's fascinating to know how they do this stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, this
They
is like
3D model it. They 3D model it essentially. So they need to have a model of the keyboard. The manufacturer tells them the dimensions of all of the
yeah.
physical dimensions of all that. They model it, and then through image recognition, they can recognize, okay, it's a K830. I know it's this model that I use instead, and there you go. So they'll have to do that with each keyboard, which is a lot of work, but that's the only way to get a one-to-one mapping.
Right, right. But there's this other app, it's called Immersed, where you can also bring in your keyboard and you kind of only show the software, okay, where's my Q key, where's my P key, for example, and then it kind of maps it. It's not 100%, but it works pretty well, I must say. So for all the people who want to try this out now with other keyboards, you can check out the Immersed app. You can get it for free on the Quest store, and that kind of works pretty well. Yeah, so that is a cool feature, of course. I think it's great that you can bring in things into virtual reality and work in VR, and yeah, it's
I'm
it's
so
a
excited
cool feature.
about it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'm a strong advocate for productivity and learning in VR. And one of the really big disadvantages of learning in virtual reality is that you can't really take notes. Like some of the research says that the students are like learning there, but you can't jot something down quickly. And bringing the virtual keyboard kind of solves that, because whether you're taking like a business meeting or you're at a conference, you're attending some kind of business event, working with your team remotely, or in my case, in case of my research, you're learning languages and you want to write down that word or that phrase real quickly so that you remember in the past. This is amazing. And the better this technology works, the better it is for learners and for like people to increase their productivity.
I totally agree. And also there's a great software application that you may have tried called Glue. Now in Glue, you can't use your keyboard, but you're talking about taking notes, and it's so easy as to how you can put notes on Post-it and then just post them on a board or just leave them in the air and stuff. So yeah, you're right. It's that, that feedback that you have with a keyboard.
Right, but I would like to see the kind of technology that would be overlaid over any kind of an app. Like there was an app that you could use your mobile phone, like your smartphone, but only through that specific app. And what I want to see is to be able to see my phone in any game or any app that I'm using. So that would be useful in this case.
That would be really cool.
Sadly, there's no API on Quest for third-party developers to do overlays. There was one app that tried to do it, and it's called YourFit, and they got sniped. They no longer exist. So yeah, no, we can't do overlay apps. Only same with the Rift Store. Only Oculus does overlays in on top of other games.
That's interesting.
I guess that's where MR will maybe take over VR in terms of these kind of things, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, Steam VR supports it. Steam VR lets you bring any other third-party app within your games and all that. So on that side, they have a lot of support for that stuff.
Right.
So I hope they will do it on Quest.
That would be so good. Like also for like people who want to stream and read the chat, right? If you want to read what people are like saying when you play games. So this is something that is sorely missing right now, but I believe it's going to happen at one point. So bringing in the keyboard is actually a cool feature, and I think it's a great thing that they included it. Also, the 120 hertz feature, it's kind of surprising, right? That like a $299 device, $299 plus your privacy, is going to have something like this, 120 hertz. Do you think that that developers are really going to implement it into their games? Because it also means that the battery life of the Quest 2 will be shortened through this, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a game that actually is simple. In order to do 120 hertz on the Quest today, you can't have a graphically intensive game. Most of the rapid games like ping pongs, or there's record free, element table tennis, and cubism, like simple graphical games will be able to do it. But I think most apps, or even most up to date, are still stuck at 72. Only a couple do 90. And so 120 is going to be very limited. Like in my case, I will support 120 hertz for VR streaming from the PC, but supporting 120 in the environments for desktop streaming, like I'm still working on optimizing things, but I probably won't be able to do it in all environments. For example, I'll just have to pick only a couple will be able to do 120 hertz because it's very, very demanding for mobile processing.
Right.
Right. So it's one of those things that everybody's getting excited about it without really understanding that they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They still don't have 90 hertz in most of the games, and they think they will get 120.
It's for the YouTube thumbnails. 120 hertz, incredible! Like what? I must click this now.
I mean, Alex from Alex VR, right? From Between Realities, he was saying, it's really about checking those boxes,
Yeah, of course.
120 hertz, ding. So I think he's absolutely right. It's just the fact that there you go, it has it, it's there.
Yeah, right.
Done.
Right. Also,
but John Carmack did say during Facebook Connect that he was worried about the cooling issue, because he did mention that the cooling wasn't as good as Quest 1. So it could potentially cause some issues. But again, as Guy is saying, it would take time for VR developers to build their apps to run at that kind of refresh rate.
right. So just like person in our chat is saying right now, marketing gimmick. I really also think, okay, it's a marketing gimmick. Facebook can now say, okay, they have 120 hertz, so nobody's going to use it. But, well, if somebody doesn't really understand all the details, they will see, hey, 120 hertz, wow, that seems to be better than, I don't know, all the other headsets on the market, or most other headsets. So that is like a good point. Now we're going to get to the big topic, and it's going to be so interesting to find out what Guy thinks about it. Of course, we have already in the beginning of the show got a glimpse of what you think about it, but it's going to be really interesting to get into depth now. And now we're going to talk about the AirLink feature. So with update 28, Facebook allows, for the first time, not really, users to wirelessly stream PC VR content from their gaming PC over to the Quest using the normal Wi-Fi network. So that is not really new. That is actually a functionality that Virtual Desktop, your software, Guy, it had this kind of functionality since like a year, no, more than a year. Like
it's Quest 1 launch.
On the Quest 1 launch even. So really like 1.5 years. So functionality that lots of people want, obviously, since the Quest 1 and 2 they are wireless, and you provided that feature. But then Facebook said, no, we can't have this on our store, and they abandoned. They didn't allow you to have this feature on the store, so you could not sell your app with that feature. And could you tell us what they said, like why did they not allow you to have that feature on the store?
Well, officially their word was comfort, security, blah, 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 BS, right? In reality is, we're actually working on that and you beat us to it. So that's really the reason they blocked my feature, because they were working on the link cable and maybe wireless future, but they weren't ready, and they probably thought that it was not something important for them to have, and they probably wish that the Rift store would die eventually, but of course that doesn't happen. The Quest doesn't have enough content. People want to have more experiences in VR, so they hook it up to PC, right? So that's the feeling that I have, is that they were bummed out that I kind of got something before they did, so they just blocked it, and prevented me from competing with them.
Wow. That is sad. So
Yeah.
you also think it's actually also was like competition for their link cable. Well, I never thought about this. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because they had like an $80 cable that they want to sell, but if they can get your software for $20 and it's wireless, yeah, it's like it's a no-brainer to get your software instead, right?
Yeah, there's a link cable, and they probably also didn't think it would work well for majority of people, and that's what we heard, that they were from Carmack, that there was a lot of fight inside of Oculus, where they wanted to say, oh, is it good enough for some people, because it's not good enough for everybody? Is it something we should release? And there was probably a lot of debate internally, and I think the popularity of my app showed them that it's something people wanted, even though they need a good network, they need a good PC and all that. But a lot of people, play hours every week and they enjoy it. So it's probably because my app was so popular that they decided, okay, let's actually move ahead with the release of this AirLink.
Okay.
And also, they always have these experimental features. They never really have the problem. Just adding this little sentence that says, hey, guess what? This is experimental. So it means that it might not work perfectly all of the time. And just the fact that they completely forgot that they have it and just said, oh, we can't guarantee the quality, shows the kind of BS that statement was.
Yeah, they didn't allow my feature in the store because they said the Quest platform is not for experiments. And then a few months later, they added the experimental tab on the Quest. I was like, what the hell is that thing?
Oh.
That's hilarious.
And now there's a ton of stuff on the experimental tab. You have like Bluetooth connections. You have some, there's a ton of stuff there.
The couch, like the couch
Basically
feature they
everything.
added,
Yeah.
I really think that the couch was just a practice for the desk.
Yeah, right.
Because now that we will have the desk, let's add something really useless in. People love it. I used it once. I never used it again, but people loved it. And I really think they only included it to test out how it's going to go, how
Yeah, of
people will
course.
perceive it before adding the desk. So it was
Right.
totally experiment. We were like the subjects of their study. They were testing
Yeah, of
this
course.
feature on us.
Agreed. So
Right.
I just want to know, Guy, how did actually Facebook tell you that you're not allowed to have virtual desktop on the store? Is there actual communication going on? Is it like you told Facebook, hey, you know what, Facebook, I have this cool feature that people can use the Quest wireless, and they straight out told you that, what you told us now, or what they also later in tweets told you? Or how can I imagine does this kind of communication work, if there was communication? Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, basically, I had been working on it for a few months, and it's not something that I had ready to put in the build that they tested, right, for the release. So it's not something that I told them anything about. It's something I was working. I was myself not even sure. Is it going to work? Is the latency going to be low enough? Is it going to be something that people can use? I had no idea, but I worked on it, and a week after Quest release, I put it in the bill, but I didn't advertise it. I just put it there. I said, if people find it, I'll be curious to know what they think, right? Because essentially the way it works is, once you're connected to computer, you could just launch Steam VR and it would automatically jump in VR in the headset, right? So it's nothing you have to do, it just works. And then so I put it in, and I think it took another week before someone found out, and it went on YouTube, and then all people were like, oh, you can actually just launch CVR and it works, right? So, and then I got a phone call from Oculus, and they basically told me, either you remove the feature or we're going to pull your app from the store.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I didn't really have a choice. It was either, no income or I have income, but then there's a missing feature in there. So
Is it because of Steam, really, that they removed it?
well,
Do you think?
initially
Yeah.
my app only did Steam VR streaming. It
Right.
could be, but I think it's just because they were afraid that it would overshadow what they were working on with Link and all that, right? So, so thankfully the SideQuest folks, told me, hey, you can actually put stuff on SideQuest and you could put your feature behind that. So that's what I did. I put it on SideQuest and made it available there.
So
It
they
just
reached out
made
to you? They reached out to
I
you
don't-
to suggest that you do that?
I think if I remember correctly, it was some folks who suggested that, oh, you could put the feature on side quests. And I thought, oh, it's a great idea. And I looked into that and decided, oh yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
And it very nice because side quests made it a lot easier. It is still complicated for the average user, but it made it a lot easier to install the patch and have access to the feature.
Right, but it's
And
still
how-
complicated. I mean, for the normal user,
Oh, yeah.
for the normal person, it's like too complicated to make like an organization, then go to the dev
Install
mode.
USB drivers.
Yeah, it's
and-
too much. It's like a hurdle that is for normal users too much. For us who are watching this podcast, we're obviously like enthusiasts
problem.
and no problem. But for the normal user, basically no wireless streaming. Right. Yeah, Tetiana, you wanted to say something, or Lazius, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, what changed? Did they have a management change, or did they? How did you hear about getting your app eventually on the store? How did that go about?
Well, I was kind of surprised, honestly, when I heard that, because I made an application for App Lab when App Lab was released, and it was essentially just a patch that installed the SideQuest patch and then launched the original app. And so, and then when I released that, they sent me an email. They said, oh, okay, we're going to deny you for App Lab, but we're actually going to approve you on the stores. I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And I was
Okay.
super happy. And then I started
Now you
thinking,
know why.
well, that's
Now you know why.
weird. Why would they do that now? Is it because all of a sudden they gave up on doing wireless streaming and they're going to let me, own the space? Or they're just about to release their own and they don't want to seem like they're anti-competitive. So we all know what happened. They just said,
Yeah. Well, speaking about, since you've mentioned that, do you have any idea, what do you think would be the strengths, like the greatest strengths of the virtual desktop? What it could be the bigger advantage of it compared to AirLink? Like, what's your, what do you think about it?
Well, the thing is, AirLink will always have better compatibility with games because since Oculus doesn't have drivers, what I do is essentially a hack. I have to tell the game, no, don't load the Oculus runtime, load my runtime instead. And that doesn't work with all games. Some games crash, some games relaunch themselves. Therefore, it's not able to correctly see the Quest. So for compatibility, there's always going to be some games that are only going to work on AirLink. With virtual desktop, what I like about my app compared to the whole link cable thing is that you have access to your desktop. You can just double click the menu button and you switch directly to your desktop and you don't have all the clunky Rift interface, right? So I think that's very useful. I have also a lot more options to control color, vibrancy, brightness, that kind of stuff. Oculus usually just go for there's one color and that's it, and you can't change any of that, right?
But in the back of your mind, you would have, you obviously always knew that one day this day would happen, right? So you probably do have some tricks up your sleeve. Is there anything you can share with us today?
Well, I've been working on other features. Well, I can't say too much because
just like one little trick.
Well, I'm working on other things that are not VR streaming or desktop related, but some additional features in the app which will hopefully add a lot of value. I think will add a lot of value for people. So I've been working on that, and I will continue to improve the experience because we have to see if AirLink is actually going to work well. I have a feeling from their thing, they're like requiring a secured Wi-Fi connection. So I have a feeling they're not doing encryption in their, so they're probably going to be very OCD about certain network setup, I have a feeling. If you have like 2 routers or anything out of network, it's probably not going to work. So I have a feeling that my app will still be a good backup solution in any case.
So speaking of that, do you think that Oculus would try to do something to, I don't know, would they be okay with keeping you on the store as a competitor? Because I think someone
yes.
mentioned, do you suspect that Facebook suddenly will change their APIs and break your app?
No. I don't think they would do that. I think they're going to allow my app to be there. But obviously, probably something like 90% of my sales will disappear because that's what people bought my app for. And I was kind of expecting it. So it's not a big surprise for me. Also, when I started working on this feature, I never advertised it in my app in the App Store, or I never did videos about it to advertise it, because I knew at any point they could just come in and pull the plug on it or copy me and do the same thing, right? And it's also something that I was kind of prepared for because of the same story that happened on the Rift side back in 2016, right, when they released a clone of Virtual Desktop into their platform.
Right.
So I was kind of expecting something similar here. So I was kind of prepared for that.
Right, that makes sense. Let's talk for a moment about the technology of Airlink. Do you have an idea how they do it? Do they use exactly the same method like you do, or could you give us some insight what you think how it's actually working? Is it exactly the same like virtual desktop?
Well, the link cable is already the same process that I do and that ALVR did in the past, and I didn't invent it, right? ALVR and what's the other app, like Riftcat, they had something working on Go Gear VR, right? I simply made it an improved version, improved latency and things like that. So essentially, it's the idea that you send the head pose and the controller pose to the computer. Computer emulates that you have a headset, renders the game, and then compresses the image to video, sends it to the Quest, and then the Quest displays it. And that whole pipeline is exactly how Oculus Link works, because Oculus Link is not like a HDMI or a DisplayPort cable. It has to compress the video, send it over, and then do time warp on the headset to compensate for latency. So it's exactly the same thing as my app, as ALVR, as Riftcat. So there's slight differences in implementation probably, but it's very similar.
Okay, but the only difference is that they have access to things that you cannot access on the development level, right? Like
yeah,
right.
Like the PC runtime, like the Rift runtime, essentially, since they wrote it, they have access to it, they can do that. And because they don't expose a driver API, I had to essentially rewrite it entirely and take guesses as to how they probably do it. So I had to rewrite an Oculus runtime on my end to simulate what they are doing.
Right. Do you think it would be possible for Facebook with some kind of changes to make your wireless streaming completely useless and not workable?
No, and I don't think they would do that. Like I say that they're pretty bad for blocking my app, but I don't think they're that evil.
Okay, you're only a bit evil, but not that evil. That's
right, exactly. Well, I mean, there's also legal reasons, right?
But it happened to yours somehow.
It did
Didn't it happen to yours? So
it happened, yeah, to your fitness.
But it was not on this. They weren't on the store, right? Because they essentially used a hack to be able to display an overlay. So there was a tool, like a developer tool called OVR Metrics, that was an Oculus tool that let you display performance graphs. And essentially, they leveraged the ability of that app to display the overlay with your fit. So that's how they could display an overlay in other games. And they essentially told Oculus, here's what our ID for our app. There's what it does. It tracks the calories you burn and all that. And Oculus said, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. We'll think about it. And then they never allowed them on the store. And then a year later, they had a duplicate. They had a clone of that feature in Oculus today, right? So.
Yeah, right. We had Six Live in the last week's episode, so he talked about this in detail. Yeah. So if you want to know more about how Facebook dealt with your fitness, please check out last week's episode of the Next Dimension podcast. It was very, very interesting. Yeah, so wow, crazy. But don't you think that Facebook should have this kind of functionality in there in the very beginning with the Quest 1 already? Like why didn't they have it?
My feeling, like I said, is I think they probably wish that the Rift Store and PCVR would eventually die. They had very little interest in it. So they said, oh yeah, we're going to develop like a cable and maybe we'll go wireless in the future if it doesn't die out, right? That's probably what their idea was at the time. And then they were kind of surprised that I had something working at launch, and then they blocked me, and then they're like, okay, we're going to release it. And now they saw how popular it was on Quest 2. I was probably like in the top 3 or top 4 apps on the Quest Store. And so, they saw how popular it was. They're like, okay, we're going to make it work in home Wi-Fi's and the same way that the virtual desktop does, because it adds value to the ecosystem. So.
Right.
Do you think it's also because at the time they didn't perhaps want people to experience PC or have a comparison to PC VR, because at the back of their mind they knew that the graphics wasn't as good. So whoever was on the Quest and having their first VR experience, that would be what they know before they launched the whole Link kind of thing, and then I'm talking before they launched the Oculus Link cable.
It might also be because it takes them more time to develop things than an individual developer like me, right? So for me, I start working on this, and I think the first implementation took me something like 5 or 6 months to get it up and running.
Right.
But for Oculus, it's a big company. There's management, there's layers. It's a lot more complicated to develop something over there. So maybe that's just why they were just slow at getting the link cable released. I don't think there was any nefarious reasons about not letting people see how PCVR is, because I think they wanted to sell maybe it's also a marketing thing where they want to sell the Quest and say you don't need a PC, right? That was their marketing initially, as no PC needed and no cables needed, and they sold it, right? If they had a cable that you could plug in your PC, then I think the messaging would have been a bit unclear. So.
Right, that makes sense. So we have a question here from Desitronic. Thanks for the €2. Guy, could Airlink have a much lower latency than virtual desktop?
It's probably very similar. Like already today, virtual desktop has about the same latency as Oculus Link, even though
that's
it's
crazy.
cable, so.
That's crazy.
And it's built on the same kind of approach, right? It's maybe they might have built it more into the OS itself, but the initial Oculus Link was essentially an app that talked to the PC app and that did exactly the same thing. So I don't think there's anything much different here. It's the same approach. They might have a few advantages here and there because they can do better timings with the compositor when they decode the video and things like that. So they can gain maybe like up to a frame, maybe like 10 milliseconds. But from what I've seen, it's about the same.
Have you tried the Pico Neo's Airlink? I don't know what to call it.
I haven't tried any
virtual
of the
desktop.
No, I haven't. No, I don't have a Pico Neo or whatever's new HTC headset is. No, but I'm hoping to get those later this year and hopefully port my app to those. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to that too.
Guy, since you said that you beat them to it, you created something that Oculus didn't, and they were actually actively working on it. How come they didn't hire you yet? I mean, I would expect that you're already the official developer for Oculus. Did they want to hire you?
They did back in 2016 when the Rift launched. So my PC app virtual desktop that lets you control your computer in VR was like one of the top 5 apps in VR, and they saw how popular it was, and they approached me. They were interested in buying the intellectual property and hiring me, right, for a few years. But they just, their offer was pathetic, and so I didn't want to give up all the work that I did for what they were offering. So I said I'll stay independent, and I'm so glad I did now, because if you go work for them, essentially you're not able to work in the space on your own after that, right? You're kind of you give up all your intellectual property, right? So I'm so glad I didn't, because the app on PC has been very popular, and the one on mobile VR has been even more popular. So I'm so glad I didn't join them.
Interesting. I was really curious about that.
What do you know anything at HP? Because we know they'll be releasing a standalone. I mean, what we know is they must be working on a standalone. Do you know anything? Do you think HP, is that a brand that attracts you to potentially work with? Because they're going to need some kind of, virtual desktop solution, right? I would imagine.
I haven't been in contact with HP, so I can't say. But even if I were in contact, I'd probably be under NDA. I wouldn't be able to talk about it. So just.
Right.
But I'm looking forward to supporting more mobile VR headsets, because it's definitely the future. And even cloud streaming, I think, is the future too. So.
Exactly. Also for cloud streaming, like a Shadow PC, you can use your app, Virtual Desktop, actually, to now cloud stream games to the Quest and the Quest 2 with the Shadow gaming PC. So that's something super interesting. And I want to get back to the part where you just said you're so happy that you didn't start to work for Facebook, but build your own product and can keep it. And I think you did obviously a great job. And now virtual desktop is a great IP itself. It's you made a name for yourself with virtual desktop. Like the whole industry knows, virtual desktop is an amazing app. It works perfectly well, and people know that you are like the star programmer. So I think you did everything right, not to join Facebook, and that's something that I simply wanted to say. Now, one question that interests me, and you have mentioned already, like that you expect that you will have less sales now. Of course, it makes sense, right? People
Yeah.
will get it for free, and they don't need it anymore, virtual desktop. So can you already tell now that there's like refunds, for example? Are people refunding your app now? Or can you feel something about it?
No, but actually, like the refund window is small. Like you have to have played the game less than 2 hours, and you have to have
All right, that
owned it
makes
for less
sense.
than 2 weeks,
Right.
right? So I'm not worried that people are refunding it. And the thing is, my app is still super useful for a lot of things, right? You have really cool environments where you can watch movies and play
Yeah.
regular PC games. I'm working, and then like I said, I'm working on the videos tab, which will let you stream 180 and 360 videos, download them to your headset, and so it's going to be like a real multimedia experience. So you can do everything that you normally do with your PC. So
Yeah, I really love those large screens. They're so cool. And I'm sure that a lot of people, including me, would love to see even more environments because we love them.
yeah, we're actually working on more, and so I can't wait to share more details about that. So I'll keep updating the app, and the app is definitely not dead. It's going to continue to evolve and add lots of value for users.
We're very happy about that.
That is
Cool.
amazing. And I really can't wait to see your app on other systems, on other headsets that don't require you to log in with Facebook. And I do see that there is a future where these headsets are also like readily available and also not super expensive. So I think we're going into this kind of future where there is going to be a competitor. Would you agree on that assessment, or do you think like it's going to be Facebook all along for the next, I don't know, 5 years or what?
Well, I hope there's going to be competition. I think it's going to be hard for other manufacturers to sell at the same price. The headsets are probably going to be a little more expensive because they can lose money like Facebook does on each headset, right? But in the console space, Microsoft, Sony, there's a bunch of different competitors that do the same thing, right? They sell their consoles at a loss. So I'm hoping there will be other big players that are going to jump in there. I mean, there's so many headsets that are being sold that I'm sure other people are going to jump in.
What do you think? Who has the biggest chances to be that big one competitor? Is it going to be Sony, or is it going to be Valve with streaming Steam VR content? What do you think?
I don't know. It could be Valve, but Valve has a major interest in staying on the PC market, right? Because that's where Steam is. And I think it would probably be way too out of their zone to do mobile store and mobile VR, right? So I have a feeling if they're working on anything, I don't have any information, but if they're working on anything, it's probably like a wireless PC VR system. In that case, my app is useless because they're going to have that built in, right? But yeah, that's probably my guess, is that they want to compete with the wireless PC VR stuff. So Valve is probably working on that.
Okay, yeah, that makes lots of sense. Yeah, let's see what they have.
And that's exciting. That's very exciting.
It is.
Yeah,
going to be
for the VR space, I think. Yeah, very exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tetiana and Lazius, do you have any more questions for Guy, or should we turn it to our people here in the chat to ask questions?
Actually, I saw a question in the chat that I was also wondering about. May I read it out loud?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
from Chris Richardson. Any possibility of a multi-user virtual desktop environment, Guy? Because I was also thinking, if I was sitting in that amazing cinema-like
You're right.
environment, I'm like, I wish I could watch this movie with my friends. It would be awesome. What do you think about it? Can we expect it?
I don't have short-term plans for multiplayer because there are other apps that do this already. There's a Big Screen, right, that does multi-user viewing, and so I don't want to kind of encroach on their space too much either. So no short-term plans, but maybe in the future, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Because you,
Okay.
you have a large following in Discord, right? I mean, you have quite a large amount of people there. So if there was a way for your Discord to be in VR via your virtual desktop app, I think might be
Yeah,
something to look at, perhaps. I don't know.
the thing is a completely different. Like I'm not like people think that I'm a programmer and all that, but I'm really not good with graphics programming or any game development. Like I have no experience in game development itself. My background was this in developing tools for the game industry, so I only did like side stuff. I never worked on an actual game before, so all this stuff is new to me. So multiplayer in a VR game would be a completely new. It's fun to learn, but it would take me months to get up to speed where other apps are.
That makes sense. Paradise Decay has a question. Guy, what are your thoughts on the PlayStation VR 2? And I also want to add, like, do you think it's going to have a wireless option? Because they did say it has a wire, but probably there's going to be a wireless option later. What are your thoughts on it? And are you excited about the PlayStation VR 2?
I hope it does have a wireless streaming feature, but I think it will still be. It won't be a standalone device. I think it will be like you need to have a PlayStation 4 and then you can stream your games from there. So I'm guessing they're probably going to do something like that. If they don't, then they're really missing out on the future.
That makes sense. So you have not been working together with Sony on their
No,
wireless? Okay, right. Yeah, let's see. Do we have more questions from the live chat? So now is really your last chance to ask Guy questions. We have been already having like nearly 2 hours of his time. So now if you have any more questions for Guy, now you can ask them in the chat. And let's see if there's still some more. Desitronic, again, thanks for the €2. And he says like, did you see that Reddit thought your background was real? Yeah, it does look cool. It does look like you're having a super nice apartment there. Probably you do. I don't know.
No, the sound isn't much. It's like 2 p.m. here, but in the background, it's no, that's the environment from virtual and stuff actually.
Yeah, those rooms just make me so like the decoration fever. It really makes me want to change my whole house just to make it look like those rooms are so cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Let's see if there's any more questions. What are your thoughts on YGig 2? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, the HTC had the dongle thing, but it was flimsy and it required line of sight, like absolute line of sight. If you just put your hand in front, it would stop working. So I don't think those are viable solutions, really. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Then Tasmania. Yep.
I was going to say the future, I think, is Wi-Fi 6E, which I was thinking the Quest 2 Pro or whatever the next Quest will have. And it's the 6 gigahertz band, which no devices use right now. So it would be great for VR streaming, actually.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Then Tasmania has a very technical question that I don't even quite understand. Is it possible to add pixel per display, pixel override feature to VD? Does it make sense, this question to you? I don't know.
Yeah, there's already a super sampling option.
You two guys can talk.
Tab. Essentially, it's the make it thing that the headset has a higher resolution. So it's super sampling what you have in Steam VR. So in virtual desktop, there are 3 options: low, medium, high in the streaming tab, and that changes the base resolution of the headset. You can fine tune it with the slider in Steam VR afterwards, but that option controls the pixels per display pixel, basically.
Okay, wow, very interesting. Then, that's interesting. Guy, do you have any words you want to directly say to Facebook?
Now's your chance.
Beep, beep, beep.
What I can say is, since they're supporting it on home Wi-Fi's, after 2 years of experience doing support, all I can say is good luck, because you have no idea what you're getting into. I mean, there's a lot of people who have good setups, but there's a ton of people who have horrible modems, or they think that they have the greatest setup because they say, oh, I have a 500 megabit internet, well, your internet speed is irrelevant. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter, right? What's
right.
important is the quality of your home router. And a
Right.
ton of people have really, really bad routers. So diagnosing that and identifying the issues with the streaming setup is hard. And doing it over a ticket system just doesn't work. So one-on-one support is really what helps. And thankfully, I have a great community on Discord who've been helping me over the last 2 years. And without them, I would not have been a successful application because they're really helping a lot.
Okay, yeah. Mic dropped. Exactly. So, yeah, good luck with that, dear Facebook. We
Yeah.
know you're watching this stream right now. So, also, one question that comes to my mind right now. Why do you believe that Airlink is not going to be available on the Quest 1? Is it purely to push the Quest 2 even further, or do you have any idea why it's not on the Quest 1?
Yeah, it was just as well on the Quest 1. So the reason is just to push the Quest 2, like they probably for Resident Evil 4 reasons, probably the same thing.
Okay, yeah. Sad for all the people who bought the Quest 1, right? Anyways, they can still get Virtual Desktop, and I can highly recommend it. It's an amazing app and worth absolutely every single euro. Yep.
Actually,
Exactly.
those are the
Dollar.
videos. Those are the videos I really miss making because I used to do your Oculus Link versus Virtual Desktop like every week.
Yes, I remember watching those. It's fun.
And then I sold all the quests, so I can't do those videos anymore.
Oh,
but
yeah. Okay,
it was really nice to be part of your development on.
Yeah, you're
during those
right.
days.
But I can make them now. I can make the Airlink versus
Yeah, you can make them.
versus Quest.
Yeah.
Versus
I'm sure
Virtual Desktop.
Tetiana's gonna make those.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
I
right.
wasn't even, I was thinking about making, how to, because tutorials are so important, like really clear tutorials, and I love making those. And I was thinking of doing, how to play PCVR with Link and Virtual Desktop. I'm like, I don't even want to make a video on Link cable. I just want to push people to do the Virtual Desktop. So I made 2 videos, on one just explaining how to do it, and the other when you had this patch. I'm like, come on, guys, it's amazing. You don't need this Link thing anymore. So
Yeah.
yes, this will be very, very interesting reviews to do in the future as well. But I do have a bias towards the Virtual Desktop. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Right. That makes lots of sense. Yeah. Also, one thing that I would like to mention here, and I would like to kind of set the record straight. So I recently made the video where I talk about the problem and about Airlink versus Virtual Desktop, where I'm very critical about Facebook not allowing Virtual Desktop on the store. And I was surprised how much hate I got, like on Twitter, and I even got hate for inviting Guy here onto the show, and I was like really surprised about this. But well, if I can piss off these kind of people, I'm very happy about that. But the one thing I want to set the record straight, I don't think it's bad that Facebook has this kind of functionality, right? I'm not like saying,
They should have had it.
They should have had it from the start. Of course, I'm not criticizing Facebook for having it now. What I'm criticizing is that they crippled Guy's software for more than a year without a valid reason. And now, like bringing this out right now, it's kind of hypocritical because, well, they denied Guy that feature because they said it's probably not good enough. And that is what I criticize, right? So just to set the record straight for all the people who say, like, Sebastian, how can you be such a Facebook hater? They are just releasing a functionality that everybody wants. Yes, I'm not against that. I'm against this hypocrisy, or however it's called, that they did not allow Guy's software on the store, that they are like crippling the competition using their market power. And that is the thing that I criticize, right? So just to set the record straight for all the people who were commenting on my videos, like, oh, Sebastian, how can you criticize that? Just to
Yeah,
set the
it's a
record straight.
hypocrisy of a big company that they can afford to get away with it, and we are basically just not letting them get away with it so easily without letting other people realize what's actually going on. So
Right.
yeah, it's a good functionality, but we need to understand the cost that was paid by other developers who made it happen, basically.
Exactly. And I think this is also really discouraging for lots of developers who probably have like an amazing idea in their mind to come out with this, because they see it now for Guy's example and Your Fitness, or even Big Screen. Big Screen also has a hard time. They are probably discouraged to work on that further because they see down the line, okay, Facebook will use their market power to kill my idea and to copy it and bring it out by themselves, and then probably they decide against working on that feature, because we have the examples here. Facebook is taking no prisoners. And that is something that I think is absolutely worth to talk about, at least, and to discuss, because that's one thing where I really am not happy about our VR community. I really love our VR community, and I really do respect all the people who are making VR content, but it's just, in my opinion, so sad to see that we don't have this discussion more, talking about these things, right? We only see all these hype videos, wow, 120 hertz, wow, Airlink. If you look on VR YouTube these days, you won't even see one critical video about this version 28 of the software. Well, I did one, and Lazius, you also mentioned it in your video. But apart from that, if you look at the main VR YouTubers, it's just basically like just hype. It's just like a Facebook advertisement videos. And I really, that's the one part about our VR community that I'm personally not so happy about. And even I get this hate on Twitter, on my videos. I will stick to my guns, and I will give people like Guy the platform to also tell this part of the story. And that's something that I simply want to say here. Yeah, thank you. Thumbs up if you think that's the right way to go, or thumbs up, thumbs down if you're not okay with it. I will keep on mentioning that not everything that Facebook doing is amazing for this industry, and I strongly believe, even though it's amazing, that more people get access to virtual reality with the Quest 2, and I do agree it's an amazing headset. There's still probably lots of bad things involved with one company dominating the market that they do, making it hard for others to actually be able to compete. And how they ruthlessly go for their goals is not a good thing. And that's really something that we should keep on at least discussing. Yeah, right. Okay, that had to go out. All right. Other than that, is there anything more any of you would like to say, or any more question, anything more you would like to add to this?
I just want to thank you so much for coming. This has been so wonderful to just hear all these things from you, to learn the insides of this process, because I read about these things. I watched Seb's video, and I kind of understood that something is fishy going on here. Probably is not very nice for Guy what's happening, but to actually hear all these little details and insights, extremely eye-opening. Thank you so much for this.
Exactly.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the insights. Amazing. Looking forward to have you on the show in the future as well, when we talk about virtual desktop for the next HTC headset or whatever. Also, I would like to say thank you so much to Lazius. It was amazing to have you on the show. And I'm looking forward to have you on the show more if you want more night sessions in Singapore, staying up until 3 a.m. in the morning. That's amazing. And now
my sugar rush is gone.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. It's been an eye opener, and it's nice to talk to Guy also, because we spoke on Discord before, and me and Tetiana, she has a lovely channel, and love how colorful and creative she is too. So really good bunch of people here. So,
really amazing. So nice. And so all the people who are watching this right now, please subscribe to VR Essentials, Lazius channel, and you will also get some content with some brain behind it, with some more critical stuff. So absolutely do check out VR Essentials. Also, please do subscribe to Tetiana's channel, Discover Disco VR. The link is down in the description below, and I'm also going to add Lazius' channel down into the description. And of course, do check out Virtual Desktop if you haven't yet. It's an amazing software. And again, thanks Guy for joining today's show. Yep, that is everything that we got for episode 17. And I really think that this was a really great show. I really, really enjoyed it. And if the people who are watching this right now, and I think we have like 250 people watching this live, today is a record for this. If you enjoyed this show, please give it a thumbs up right now. And even more important, and I really, really would ask you for this, if you enjoy this show, if you enjoy what we're doing here every single Saturday, please do get your iPhone out or your iPad. Open the podcast app. It's already on your iPhone or iPad. You don't have to download it. Go and find the Next Dimension podcast and do leave us a 5-star review. It's going to help us so much. So that would be really, really amazing. And other than that, we're looking forward to see you in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, episode 17. So we're still live, and we normally do this like 1 or 2 minutes after show. So don't say anything wrong now. We're still live. And yeah, wow, that was a really cool show, right?
Oh my.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, that was really, really amazing.
Yeah, very awesome.
Yeah, it was really
And
cool.
going away from, the sad part of virtual desktop, all these events that are coming up too.
Like what kind of events?
The ViveCon, the Oculus Quest on May 21st, all the new things that will be getting, the VR sets coming out, new games getting announced. It's just, YouTube is going to explode. It will explode in about a month, next weekend, in a month from now. I'm kind of excited
People
about
who
that.
say VR is dead, they're probably running out of arguments. Right now.
No, really. It's so alive and kicking. It's amazing. And yeah, so happy about it. And well, I must say, I'm so rooting for HTC to have a success with their new standalone headset, right? I really hope that they can be successful despite their PR department. sorry, dear HTC, but really, I think you could do a much better job on that one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Wow. So the HTC standalone headset. Wow, it's gonna be exciting. So very soon you're going to find out more about that.
But I'm really excited about Apple, to be honest.
Me
I
too.
just can't wait for Apple's announcement. Like,
You're right.
oh my God, that's going to be, I don't know
And
what that's going to be like, but yeah.
What was the price that they started talking about? Was it $1,000?
$1,000,
yeah.
Something like that?
1,000,
Because I
yeah.
remember
Still
when we
prices, yeah.
talked about it for the very first time on MRTV podcast, I think our expectations were like 2-3.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
And then it changed.
And
Yeah,
now
right.
it dropped.
Yeah.
Like,
I
well,
think there's
that
going to
makes
be,
it easy for me.
there might be 2. I don't know. That's possibly,
Okay.
They have AR glass, right? Then they have a different set of patented designs that went out. So one of them comes with a huge tower. It's like a big box the size of a PC tower. So I don't know where you're going to put that. And that could be an enterprise thing, maybe. I don't know. But I'd love to. I'm not getting anything from the developers. And I think these are the guys that, have all the answers, right? Because they have to have a store. They have to have apps in there.
Yeah, but
It can't just be an empty headset, right? So
yeah, but I think it's going to be those AR apps that are now on the store. They are going to work on that headset for sure. It's called AR Kit or something. So I think that they made it very smart to have that on the phones and the pads as well. So that makes sense. Yeah, probably one last question for Guy. What are your thoughts about Apple and they're probably coming out with a VR headset that's actually AR with all these cameras? Is it something that excites you? Do you think it's going to make a big splash in the industry?
Yeah, definitely, because it's Apple. Just the name
Right.
will make it a really popular product. I hope that they allow an app like mine where you can stream content from other
That
things.
would be
But
good.
I have a feeling that
the next fight.
they wanna, it might be a Facebook 2.0 there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wow, that would be cool, right? If you have this amazing Apple VR headset and then you can stream your Steam VR content, well, that would be like a dream.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
It'd be a good bridge with previous VR experiments, and you'd still have access to all that content. So I think it'd be super valuable. The question is this something Apple really wants to do to give you access to that content? And
No, I don't
would they
think
allow
so,
an app
no.
like mine? Probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, they are the inventors of the walled garden, basically, for these kind of things. So I don't think that's going to happen. Yep. Anyway, so let's not take too much of all of your time. And Lazius also wants to go to bed probably. So
I had a question for you,
oh, yeah.
Sebastian.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
one
sure.
last one.
Okay.
You used to do the Rec Room classes. Are you still doing that?
No, that was just like a test. I wanted to test
Okay.
if I can actually teach language in virtual reality, and it worked so well. I would love to do that, like a side project, like start a language school in VR or something. But yeah, my time is just like so limited with all the MRTV stuff that I'm doing. Probably sometime in the future, who knows? Yep. Okay. Cool. That's it, I would say. So thank you so much. That was episode number 17 of this podcast. I loved this episode. And yeah, again, if you enjoyed it too, please give it a thumbs up. And now that's it. Looking forward to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
See ya.